Hey, what's going on, you guys? So welcome to episode 8 of the Trainer Talk. Today we're going to be talking about health and longevity, why we should care about our health and why we should take care of ourselves. We're going to talk about a lot of statistics, so stats on how our body is affected by certain things. So Bethany's going to go over a lot of that, and then we're just going to talk about different ways to improve your health, as well as why we should do it and why we should care about eating healthy and exercising and all those types of things. I'm just going to warn you guys right now, I have strong beliefs on health and fitness, as these two already know, and we were talking a little bit before. I might offend some people, and I'm going to try to kind of bring you the pain, if you will. So hopefully I can motivate some of you guys to want to make a change, and hopefully maybe break some beliefs in your head and kind of spark some new ideas inside of you to make you care about your health and yourself and your family and things like that. So we'll get into that a little bit after. Bethany's going to run through some stats on how your body and health is affected by different things because of our environment and the world that we live in and the access to all the unhealthy food and things like that we have. So Bethany, go ahead and take it off.
All right, so first kind of part is there's like two major health measurements that can kind of tell like how your health and wellness is. One is body fat and the other is BMI, which is your body mass index. It's like your height divided by your weight, or vice versa. But both of those are like the most used measures of health, BMI being more used. But fat is an even more important thing to look at because there was actually a study where people with a normal body mass index, so like weight for their height, they had an unhealthy body fat percentage though. And they were more likely to get pre-diabetes or have undiagnosed type 2 diabetes versus like overweight people that had less body fat. So that proves that, you know, having more muscle and less body fat is actually great for the body, and that's because fat generates inflammatory hormones and proteins in the body, which affects all your functions because it goes right in like the bloodstream, affects all your major organs, especially when you have like fat mostly in the midsection. Especially visceral fat, which is hard and surrounding the organs. It's like the beer belly type, where it's like hard to the touch, and then there's like the squishy fat that's subcutaneous. It's a little less dangerous, but it still can be
easier to burn.
That's
subcutaneous. Visceral, when you have that kind of the pot belly that's around the more organs under the muscle, that's a lot harder to lose.
Yeah. And then there's actually a type of fat called brown fat, and that's actually good because it helps with like your thermal regulation, so like moderating your body temperature. So that fat's actually good. So not all fat is bad. But with having an increased body fat percentage, you're at an increased risk for high blood sugar, fuzzy thinking, heart disease, aching joints. It's actually found that you have a 2.5 time greater risk of developing arthritis if you're overweight or obese versus like a normal weight person. 2/3 of Americans are overweight, 1/3 of them are obese, which is 33% body fat or higher, which is
a third of your body.
Yes, a third of your body is fat. And like for some people, they're way higher than that, and like they think that they're doing okay, and that's still clinically obese. So like all these statistics factor into 1/3 of the people that we're talking to, and even 2/3. Fat also like really affects sleep. So overweight people are more likely to experience sleep disorders, like sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is another big one with that. 50 to 75% of the people with that disease are obese. Another part with that is 91% of type 2 diabetes cases are because of lifestyle. So it's not even just weight, like taking weight and everything like that out of the equation, it's from lifestyle. And then obesity also causes a 25% greater risk of mood and anxiety disorders, so like depression, anxiety. Alzheimer's is even higher. So for overweight individuals or obese individuals, it's 42% higher for Alzheimer's disease, and if you're underweight, it's actually a 36% risk increase of like a normal weight person. And another really kind of like scarring statistic is obese individuals, so anyone above that 33% mark, can expect a 22% reduction in their years of life that they will live. So if you're supposed to live like 80 years, you can expect to live only like 50 or 60 years.
60, 64.
Yeah, 60, 64 years. Just because, you're obese, you're clinically obese, just because of all the negative things that come from that. But there's some good things too, with like inactivity, which is a big cause of obesity. Every decade, adults tend to lose 3 to 8% of their lean muscle mass, and that results in a decrease in metabolism and increase in fat accumulation. But only 10 weeks of resistance training, just like 3 times a week, increased their metabolism by 7%, so it kind of like mitigated the effects of that, and they lost an average of 4 pounds across the board for this study. So it's it's helpful to know that like in 10 weeks you can start to reverse that process.
And how long would you say they need to work out for?
Like probably just 3 times a week, like half an hour to maybe an hour.
30, 45 minutes.
Yeah, 30, 45 minutes.
So if you calculated that out, an hour and a half out of 168 hours a week, you're talking less than 1% of your time. And you could literally basically stunt the effects of doing this.
Yeah.
You can kind of reverse that.
Yeah. And then like some other good things, it's more important to focus on quality rather than the quantity of food. So if you're eating a lot of really good quality food, it's better for you than eating like a lower quantity of unhealthy food, like long term. I mean, I don't say go eat all the peanut butter and avocados you want, but just replacing the fast food, the processed food, the junk food with more whole options, like 80%, then you're already doing way better. And like that reduces the risk of like diabetes and all the other diseases as well. It was actually found you have a 26% chance higher risk of type 2 diabetes if you regularly drink sugary beverages. And that's not just pop, that's sweetened tea, juice, even like alcohol, like anything like that. If you regularly drink any of those, or like energy drinks.
Basically added sugars.
Added sugars,
general, right?
added sugars in general. Drinks especially though, since it gets into the bloodstream faster. But that's like a big thing that if you just took that out, then you would decrease your risk by a ton for type 2 diabetes. And then like risks for heart disease. I mean, that's like the #1 killer in America. And you have a 32% higher chance of developing some sort of heart disease if you're overweight, which is 2/3 of all Americans, and an 81% chance of developing it if you're obese, and 50 to 60% chance that you will die early because of heart disease if you're obese or overweight.
So there's a very, very high chance
Yes.
of an early death,
Like
heart
that's-
disease, basically a way of going out that you would not want to go if you're overweight or obese.
And then the next part of that, you have a 7% higher risk of type 2 diabetes if you're a man, if you have a BMI of 30 or higher, and if you're a woman, it's 12 times the risk if you have a BMI of 30 or higher. Healthy is 25 to about 18. And then if you also stroke is another leading cause of death in the United States. 22% risk increase if you're overweight. So again, 2/3 of the population, and then 1/3 of those people are obese. 64% increased risk of stroke, which either leads to more strokes or it can even lead to death. So
Yeah. All of the #1 cases of death are like reasons for death: heart disease, stroke, all those things. The #1 way to get heart disease and those things is being overweight or obesity. So that is kind of the #1 place that we want to start with and take a look at, is because that is what's going to lead to heart disease and all those other diseases long term. So we want to start with obesity, which is kind of the biggest pandemic that we've ever experienced in the United States. So we want to obviously try to give you as much information as we can to prevent that and try to get in better shape. One thing I will say, she mentioned BMI and body fat percentage. BMI is a number that we don't really like using all the time because, like she said, somebody with a high BMI, but if they have a lower percentage of body fat, they're better off than somebody with a lower BMI but a really high percentage of body fat, because I am considered technically overweight. Austin's probably considered overweight for our height, age, and our gender, because we have a lot more muscle mass than the average guy our age and our height. So just because I weigh a little bit more doesn't mean that I'm necessarily more unhealthy. It's just because I have a low percentage body fat, but a lot more muscle than the average person that's my age and height. So that's why we look at body fat percentage whenever we're with our clients, tracking their results, stuff like that. Is there anything else that you had in there, Bethany? Or no? Okay. So now that you have all these stats, and I think we'll probably include some of these stats in the text that way, because obviously you have to remember all these. You can rewatch it a couple times, but we'll include some of the stats in below.
It's a lot to take in.
But like, what I want to kind of touch on is like, why do we care about these stats? Like, why do we actually care about living a long, healthy lifestyle? Well, for most of you guys watching this, and for most of the people that we work with, you guys are parents. You have families. And if you really want to be there for them and take care of them, first you have to take care of yourself. Like you can't lead somebody if you're not willing to actually do it yourself. Like you cannot take care of your children the right way and set them up for success in a healthy lifestyle if you are not willing to live a healthy lifestyle. So unfortunately, I'm sorry if I offend you a little bit, but like if you're going to be a parent, you must be learning how to take care of yourself. And if you can't take care of yourself, you should not be taking care of a kid. Because they don't know any better, and they're just going to adopt the same lifestyle habits that you're currently doing, and they're going to be that much higher percentage of chance of developing diabetes, heart disease, and dying an early death, and it's not even their fault. So you guys need to take this stuff seriously. We want everybody to live a long, healthy life, and that's what we're here for, is to teach people. Unfortunately, in the world that we live in, we're not taught how to count your macros or what protein, carbs, and fats are, how they affect the body. We're not taught any of those things in school, and that's why people have to hire coaches and get a personal trainer. And we're here, and we're trying to change the communities that we live in. And we're starting with Sandusky, and we're blossoming out. The whole thumb, we want to try to help impact everybody. And these are the reasons why, is because if you have a family that you truly care about and you want to be there for them, you should take care of yourself. It starts with you. You can't take care of others unless you're taking care of yourself. When you're on an airplane and the masks come down, you have to put your own mask on before you put anybody else's on. And they tell you that because you got to take care of yourself before you take care of somebody else. I had a gentleman walk in to the gym the other day, and he wasn't signing up. He was having a conversation with me about something else, but he said that he recently started working out, and he was fairly overweight, obese, and he had lost about 40, 50 pounds, and he said he was doing a lot better. And I said, yeah, it's the number one thing that you can do is take care of yourself. And he said, well, other than providing for my kids first. And I said, well, if you die, or if you develop heart disease or whatever, if you're unable to take care of your kids because of your health, you're not providing for your children. So in fact, you are the most important thing. Your health is the most important thing. Because if you're unhealthy, or if you die, or if you have heart disease and you die 15, 20 years early, who's going to be taking care of your family? Not to mention, I don't know if you've ever lost anybody, but I could not imagine losing somebody really, really close to me before their time. My parents weren't there for me when I was growing up. I don't know what I would have done. And there's plenty of my friends that have gone through that, have lost their parents at an early age because of these health issues. And it affects them forever, It's a serious thing. Like, it's unfortunate to watch them have to go through that, and they shouldn't have to if you can help it. And the fact of the matter is a lot of this stuff's preventable. A lot of people will make excuses saying, oh, that's just the way I was raised, or it's hereditary. The fact is, 91% of people that are diabetic, it's because of their lifestyle. It's not hereditary. They can change it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So wake up, start eating healthy and exercising, because you have to, or you will pretty much die an early death. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
We just went through a pandemic where you had a 0.00003 chance of dying, yet you have like a 70% chance of dying an early death because of obesity, yet nobody cares. Everybody still eats fast food and drinks pop every day, and they laugh about it, and they make fun of people that are eating healthy, and it's unfortunate. And we do it because we have families we care about ourselves, and we realize that if we don't take care of ourselves, this is the chance, this is the road we're going. Why work 40 years of your life, and then once you reach retirement, you're in a wheelchair, or you have heart disease, somebody's taking care of you. Plus, you owe it to your children to take care of them, and then they end up taking care of you when you're 65 years old. And you should be wanting to like get up and play with your grandkids and things like that. Walk your daughter down the aisle, like be there for your kids and grandkids' graduation, things like that. Like you should be thinking about that right now as you're going through life. You know, all we focus on is work, 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 and we slowly work ourselves to death, and we don't think about the consequences. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a rant there, but this is it gets me worked up because this is why I got in the field that I'm in. Is because I literally hate seeing somebody in their 30s, 40s, 50s with, you know, in a wheelchair or, you know, morbidly obese, and sometimes not even their fault because they just don't have the knowledge. And it's unfortunate because they shouldn't be in that position. And then people with kids and they can't even play with their children. It's the saddest thing, you know, to see. And I want to change that, and we want to change that. Yeah. And that's why we're here. So my number one thing is just literally ask yourself, why are you living? Why should you take care of yourself? Think about those reasons. If you have kids or family and you love them and care about them, that should be your number one reason, is to take care of them. Take care of yourself for them. If you're too selfish to take care of yourself for you, if you don't care about how you feel, do it for your family. Because if you have a loving, caring family, if there are people that care about you, then you owe it to them to take care of yourself. Because they will be completely traumatized if something bad happened to you. You know, if something bad happened to any of my family members, I would be wrecked. So take care of yourself for others. Take care of yourself for yourself. You know, respect yourself. You were given a life that, you know, we should owe it to ourselves to try to live the best quality of life that we can and enjoy our time here on earth. And that's what we're trying to do, is impact people and give them the information they need, help them realize that there's a lot more to living than just eating poor food and feeling like crap and dying an early death that you don't want to. So we want to try to reverse that. So one other thing I'll say, then I'll let Austin talk about some things, is there's kind of a spectrum from death, disease, wellness, health, and then fitness. And we want to try to get as many people to the fitness side of the spectrum as possible. Unfortunately, if you go to the doctor and let's say your resting heart rate's 70 beats a minute, your blood pressure is 120/80, you know, you don't have any known diseases, so your doctor will say, you're doing pretty good. You're doing pretty well. You don't need to worry about anything. Well, the problem is you're right on that wellness part of the spectrum. You don't have any diseases yet, but you're not necessarily fit or healthy either. And they're not going to tell you to do anything different if you're just okay. You don't have any disease, your blood pressure's okay, it's not high, you don't need to do anything. Well, the problem is if you continue down the road that you're going and eating unhealthy food and not exercising, staying sedentary, you're just going to slowly creep down that spectrum to disease. You're going to get there. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So what we want you to do is get as high up on that fitness and health spectrum as you can, so that if something traumatic happens, where if you get injured, or if you have a death in the family, if you get fired from your job, and all that stress builds up and it takes a toll on your health, you're at least still okay. Because if you're at the wellness right now and something traumatic happens, boom, next thing you know, your health is plummeted, and next thing you know, you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you develop diabetes, you gain a bunch of weight, then your risk for heart disease is increased, and then you're looking at an early death, one that you don't want. So get yourself up on that spectrum. And we're not asking for much. Like you said, 3 days a week, 30 minutes of working out, exercising, go for a walk every day for 10 minutes, you know, start eating a little bit more fruits and veggies, and you're gonna move yourself up. We're not asking you to like never eat fast food again, never drink a pop again, never drink alcohol again. We're telling you to find balance. It's not black and white. It's not a style from 0 to 100. You gotta find kind of a happy medium for yourself. And I would say somewhere between 60 and 80, 60 to 80% of the time if you're healthy, allow yourself, enjoy yourself a little bit. You can still live an enjoyable life, but stay healthy and fit in that range. I would say I'm 70 or 80, you know. We still go out and we still eat whatever we want sometimes, but hey, you know what? I'm putting in the work during the week, working out, eating healthy, and then we enjoy ourselves. Like you gotta find that balance to take care of yourself and live that healthy lifestyle. So get yourself up on that spectrum is what we're saying. That way, if anything happens, you know, you're better off. You're gonna live a longer, healthier lifestyle that way, and kind of keep yourself from floating toward that disease or even an early death Because you've all heard of somebody, that had a heart attack at age 40 and they're no longer with us. It happens all the time. There's been a few in the last few years in Sandusky, and I'm thinking to myself, this should not be happening. We should not be seeing people die with 4-year-old children because of heart disease, because they're obese or overweight. It should not happen. And we're here to try to change that. So